At any time, you can pause this video so that you can write down information or revisit information while we're having this presentation. We're going to start our first lesson learning about how organisms sense information about the world around them. This is going to sound really complicated, but bear with me. I'll make it as easy as possible. An organism's ability to sense and respond to its environment enhances its chance of surviving and reproducing. So, like, things need to be able to survive in order to reproduce, in order for that species to continue, right? So, animals and organisms have external, like outside of their bodies, and internal sensory receptors that detect different kinds of information. And they use internal mechanisms for processing and storing it. Each receptor can respond to different inputs. There are different kinds of receptors: electromagnetic, mechanical, chemical. Some receptors respond by transmitting impulses that travel along nerve cells. So we're going to look at nerve cells. In complex organisms, most such inputs travel to the brain. So humans, we're complex, and our information travels to the brain, which is divided into several distinct regions and circuits that serve primary roles in particular functions such as visual perception, which is like your eyes and how you see things; auditory perception, that's your ears and how you hear things; interpretation of perceptual information, so like what you think you see; guidance of motor movement, so that means like what you, when you move, how you move, like balancing, touching things, moving your feet to walk, that kinds of things; and decision making. In addition, some of the brain circuits give rise to emotions and store memories. Brain function also involves multiple interactions between the various regions to form an integrated sense of self and the surrounding world. All right, so what does that mean, Mrs. Tomlinson? Because that was super confusing. So what I'm going to tell you is that you have all kinds of things that tell you about the world, and the way that you get information from the world is by having senses and using your sensory receptors. Your fingers, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, all of those help you with receiving information about your world. So what we're going to do is complete a notebook page to kind of briefly put that information in one place. It is, I can explain how organisms sense information about their environment. So our key term today is sensory receptor. Say it with me. Sensory receptor. It's an organ having nerve endings that respond to stimulations. So, organisms use senses to learn about their environments. You guys use your eyes, your ears. You're hearing right now, so you're using your ears. That's a sensory receptor. You're using your eyes to watch the screen. That's sensing light. You're probably touching something like a computer or a pen or a pencil, maybe your notebook, and so your fingers are also sensors, and they are sensing your environment. So animals have external and internal sensory receptors that detect different kinds of information. Internal mechanisms process and store information, like your brain, and each receptor responds to different inputs, like electromagnetic, that's like light; mechanical input, that's like movement or touch; and chemical, which would be like your nose and smelling. So the body receives sensory information using the senses, which are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. I'm going to add a little bit to our notebook here, and I'm going to just add how the body receives sensory information. And I'm just going to make a big old circle around it. And then here's how it works. Sight. Your eyes can see things, right? Smell. Your nose can smell things. Sound. Your ears can hear things. Touch. You can feel things. And what's the last one? Did you get it? That's right, it's taste. So your tongue can taste things. At the end of this lesson, we'll come back and revisit it, but your notebook, page 1, should be highlighted. Always make sure you highlight what I highlight, and your term sensory receptor should also be highlighted. there will be an attachment of a picture of this in your lesson.